Animitta nimittena. When one executes devotional service, he should do it for the satisfaction of the Lord, not for desiring the fruits of his activities. This is very essential in devotional service, and that is called pure devotional service. Lord Kapila is not advising even mixed devotional service, wherein someone is worshipping the Supreme Lord for some kind of material benefits. Of course, over a period of time, even devotee engaged in mixed devotional service can become purified of his material desires. But actually, that is simply a waste of time. If one can engage directly in pure devotional service, why he should desire some fruitive results for whatever we are performing? And actually, when there is give and take business, it is not uncontaminated devotional service, it is more of a business. When gopis had asked one question to Krishna, that, my dear Lord, which kind of lover is superior? So then Krishna, explaining in that context, understood that gopis, they were completely pure and with uncontaminated mind, they had worshipped the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But Krishna made them broken-hearted, did not respond to what they had desired. So they were asking, which kind of lover is more superior? So in answering this, Krishna says, the first kind is one who reciprocates as much as he gets. And Krishna says, actually that is not real love, that is more of a transaction, that is a business. And that is what we find in this material world. As long as somebody is able to gratify my senses, I love him. And the moment we find he is no more useful for me, then we don't even want to see him. So that is a business transaction. Second, Krishna explains, there is someone who reciprocates even without getting, and he is far superior. Without getting anything in exchange, he reciprocates, and from his side he gives. But then Krishna explains, the best is one who is completely detached, neither hating nor with attachment, but he reciprocates. And that is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Atmaram. He is not in need of our love. You see? Suppose you are distressed and still you reciprocate nicely. Very good. But the topmost is one who is having no desire, no need, but still to satisfy his devotee, to please his devotees, he reciprocates. So, Krishna then said to the gopis, my dear gopis, the kind of love which you have shown to me, I cannot reciprocate. Even in the lifetime of the devatas, I cannot reciprocate. That is the kind of devotional service you have performed. Sacrificing everything for my sake. Bandhavas and swajanas, everything for my sake. So you better be satisfied with your own deeds, for even I cannot give you back the kind of love which you have shown. So actually, that is the kind of devotional service one should perform. And that is what is mentioned here. Animitta nimittena, without desiring the fruits of activities. Prabhupada explains two very important meaning of this animitta nimittena. One, Prabhupada explains that by performing devotional service, the devotees of the Lord, even though it looks like they are in the material world, contaminated, acted upon by three modes of material nature, but actually they are like lotus flower in the midst of everything, but still completely aloof from all of them, because they are not contaminated. They are free from contamination of three modes of material nature. And Prabhupada says this is called animitta nimittena, completely pure, not desiring anything. And next Prabhupada explains that actually this can be achieved when one simply wants to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And that is what is stated in Bhagavatam very clearly. Ataha pumbir dvija shreshta varnashrama vibhagasaha swanustistasya dharmasya samsiddhir haritoshanam. Every work should be performed just for the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord. So, this is very, very essential. These are the two very important meaning Prabhupada explains. I'll read that first paragraph and we'll try to understand that. So, Sridhar Swami, when he comments on this verse, he explains this very beautiful meaning. So he says in this connection, by association with material nature alone, one does not become conditioned. Just because a devotee is living in the material world, where three modes of material nature is acting, just because of the association alone, it is not that he is contaminated. Prabhupada is giving the example, just because there is police department and there is a gentleman and he is abiding by all the laws of government, everything, and just because there is police department does not mean that he is also criminal, isn't it? Criminal is when one is having that mentality of criminal and he performs that action. Then he is called as criminal. So, very nicely Prabhupada explains here, if someone, Sridhar Swami comments in this connection, by association with material nature alone, one does not become conditioned. Conditioned life begins only after one is infected by the modes of material nature. It is just like there is infection everywhere. Let us say, for example, some infection is going on. But if somebody is vaccinated, somebody has taken all precaution, even though he is going around, just like the doctors are there, he is not infected by them. He is not infected. So similarly, this is not the meaning of conditioned life, that the devotee is living in the material world is not conditioned life. Conditioned life is when one is infected by three modes, it is conditioned life. And while living still he is not infected, it is liberated life. So, just to explain, Prabhupada is giving that example. If someone is in contact with police department, that does not mean that he is a criminal, isn't it? We are also in contact with police department for so many work. We also contact, but that does not mean we are criminals, isn't it? As long as one does not commit criminal act, even though there is police department, he is not punished. So until and unless we have that criminal mentality and we commit crime, where is the question of being afraid of police department? Why we have to be afraid? We are walking on the road, when we see a police, should we become police has come? But if a criminal is there, definitely he will become afraid. The moment he sees police, he will try to run away. Isn't it? So that is the difference. Similarly, liberated soul is not affected, although he is in the material nature. So this is the meaning of liberated soul. Prabhupada is saying even the Supreme Lord is also supposed to be in contact with the material nature. He creates, He maintains, He annihilates. Everything is done by Him. Still He is untouched. And then Prabhupada is giving that same example, that although the lotus flower is in association with water, it does not mix with water. That is essential. It is in association, but it is not mixing with water. This is how one has to live as described by personality of Godhead Kapila Deva, Animitta Nimittena. See, this is how one has to live. Uncontaminated by modes of material nature or fruitive desires, all those things. So, first qualification, if we want to come out of three modes of material nature, if we want that we have to be liberated, devotional service has to be performed like this, without being touched by three modes of material nature. Then, next Prabhupada explains, one can be liberated from all adverse circumstances simply by seriously engaging in devotional service. How this devotional service develops and becomes mature is explained here. In the beginning, one has to perform his prescribed duties with a clean mind. Swadharmena amalatmana. See? So how it is possible to remain animitta nimittena? In the beginning it may not be possible. Yes. But if one performs all his prescribed duties with clean mind, then it is very much possible. How that has to be done? So that also Prabhupada explains. Clean consciousness means Krishna consciousness. Now somebody may ask, what is this with clean mind I have to perform devotional service? Simple definition is, do everything for Krishna. This is what Prabhupada says. Clean consciousness means, not for me, I should do everything for Krishna. And Prabhupada is saying this can be extended. It is not that one has to change his position, not required. One can be engineer, one can be doctor, one can be earning money, and still he can be clean in his consciousness. How? Everything should be utilized for Krishna. The test is, what activity I am doing? Is this satisfying the Supreme Lord? If it passes this test, then we are clean in our mind. So Prabhupada is explaining this. In the beginning, one has to perform his prescribed duty with a clean mind. Clean consciousness means Krishna consciousness. One has to perform his prescribed duties in Krishna consciousness. There is no necessity of changing one prescribed duty. One simply has to act in Krishna consciousness. So what is, now Prabhupada is saying, one has to act in Krishna consciousness. What does it mean? In discharging Krishna conscious duties, one should determine whether by his profession or occupational duties, Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is satisfied. So if Krishna is satisfied, then that is Krishna conscious duty we are performing. So, in ISKCON, in our society, there are prescribed duties given by Srila Prabhupada. Morning, our sadhana is there. Then apart from sadhana, our chanting is there. Daily, we must hear Srimad Bhagavatam, Krishna Katha. And then there are varieties of different activities assigned to the devotees. Somebody is serving in the altar, somebody is washing the dishes of the Lord, somebody is cooking for the pleasure of the Lord. Very simple question is Krishna satisfied by all these activities? That's it. So, even a devotee, he should not be materially comparing the different duties. One is preaching, going out for some kind of services, and one is washing the dishes of the Lord. If a devotee starts thinking, I am inferior, I am doing some inferior service for Krishna. For Krishna, no difference. Prabhupada says, Krishna embracing the gopi and Krishna embracing the cows or the calves, no difference for Krishna. So that is what we have to understand. So all these are the different prescribed duties one should carry out. And the simple test is Krishna satisfied? So if spiritual master has given varieties of these different assignments, the different services, and if my spiritual master is pleased, Krishna is pleased. Very simple. You cannot ascertain directly whether Krishna is pleased or not. That is not in our hand. But certainly we must know, if my spiritual master is pleased, then Krishna is pleased. So who has assigned all these different kinds of duties in Krishna consciousness? These are all assigned by Srila Prabhupada. Whether it is book distribution, whether it is making life members, all these are transcendental plans of Srila Prabhupada to engage the devotees. That is very important. All these varieties of services is to engage the devotees in transcendental service of the Lord. So these are called prescribed duties. So for us, this is the prescribed duties. Externally, those people who are not living in the association of devotees here, they can still also do their prescribed duties. Prabhupada says, in earlier days, the prescribed duties used to be the Varnashrama system, wherein by their nature they become engaged in varieties of services. Somebody is acting as a Brahmana, somebody is acting as a Kshatriya, somebody Vaishya, somebody Shudra. So today it may not be possible, and somebody may be engineer, somebody may be doctor, somebody may be businessman. Prabhupada said it does not matter. As long as the fruits of our action we perform is utilized in the service of the Lord. As long as whatever activities we are doing is done for the pleasure of the Lord. You see. So that is what Prabhupada is saying. There is no necessity of changing one's prescribed duties. One simply has to act in Krishna consciousness. In discharging Krishna conscious duties, one should determine whether by the professional or occupational duties, Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is satisfied. In Bhagavatam it is said, Swanustistasya dharmasya samsiddhir haritoshanam. Everyone has some prescribed duties to perform, but the perfection of such duties will be reached only if the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari, is satisfied by such example. For example, Arjuna's prescribed duty was to fight, and perfection of his fighting was tested by satisfaction of Krishna. Krishna wanted him to fight. When he fought for the satisfaction of the Lord, that was the perfection of his professional devotional duty. On the other hand, when contrary to this wish of Krishna, he was not willing to fight, that was imperfect. So, this is the explanation of nimitta, animitta nimittena swadharmena amalatmana. Perform your duties, occupational duties with clean mind, without desiring fruitive results. So Prabhupada has so beautifully explained how this has to be done. If activities either outside or our prescribed duty in Krishna consciousness, if it is done on behalf of the Lord for His satisfaction, then you are satisfying what Lord Kapila is saying. Because that is very essential. Lord Kapila is giving the secret of how one can become free from contamination of three modes of material nature, how one can be liberated even while staying in this material world. He is giving the clue here. So this is the first one he is saying. And next he says, Tivraya mai bhaktaya cha shruta samhritaya chiram. That means one has to perform devotional service very seriously. This is another important instruction, because we can take it very lightly also, isn't it? It's all okay. There is something called familiarity breeds contempt. We have seen when devotees are out of association, they realize the importance. They realize the importance. And then they, later on repent. When I had all this opportunity with me to get up early in the morning in association of devotees, I never utilized all these things. And now when I am bereft of association of devotees, so difficult to practice devotional service, then they are able to realize the importance. Isn't it? Krishna says that when something which is very dear to you is lost, then you realize the importance of that. Krishna is saying that to gopis when Krishna became, Krishna disappeared from that pastimes. So Krishna said, it is just to increase your desire to attain me that I disappeared. So it is very important that one performs very seriously, sincerely this devotional service. And another very important thing is Shruta Samhritaya Chiram. Devotional service begins with hearing and chanting. And especially hearing is very important. And here it is said, for a long time we have to hear. Repeatedly, Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam has to be read repeatedly. And repeatedly when you read, every time you will find newer and newer aspects of understanding. Deeper and deeper understanding you will find. That is the beauty of these Vedic literatures. So I'll read that portion also, Prabhupada is saying. There are two kinds of Shruti or scriptures. One is spoken by the Lord, other is spoken about the Lord and his devotees. Bhagavad Gita is the former and Bhagavatam the later. So both of them are called Krishna Katha. One must hear these scriptures repeatedly from reliable sources in order to become fixed in serious devotional service. See? So all devotees, very important. Actually, it is very, very essential. Prabhupada wanted that the devotees who are practicing Krishna consciousness must read regularly his books. Why Prabhupada took so much pain in writing all these literature? Just to sell? Just to make money? Should all understand this. How much painstakingly Prabhupada has translated right in the dead of night, getting up, translating this Vedic literature. For selling. For what reason? So that we can read. Not just for making money. Very important. Prabhupada sometimes, laughed and criticized devotees. When devotees, no, these books are meant for selling, not for reading. So when we are selling also, it is meant for reading. That is the important thing we have to realize. So, it is a fact that the more somehow or other, even if you don't understand, repeatedly if you read, make it a habit without fail. Sometimes there is a mind's trick that we are not able to find time for reading. In material, this thing, when they want to make somebody habitual to some practice which is new to him, they sometimes trick the mind. Like this, just before going to bed, I will read half an hour. Like this. You should plan like this actually. Before going to bed, let us say, or before eating my breakfast, I will read half an hour. So every time you should be reminded, somehow or other make some time, regular time. It is very important to make a habit. Someday you read in the morning, someday you read in the night. Very difficult. Just like all of us chant in the morning, it has become a habit for us. Later on, it is very difficult to complete the round. All of us have realized this. Similarly, you have to make it a habit. Just like Darshan Arti is at a certain time, Sandhya Arti is at a certain time, Bhagavatam class is at a certain time, reading also you should make it at certain time. Not whenever I find time. That will never happen. Take it for granted. Never happen. Our mind is so crooked that time will never come. So you have to make some time. It could be morning. Find out which time it is possible. That time without fail you should go and read. So it is so important. You can see here. Lord Kapila is saying, for long time you have to hear. Then it is possible that you can come out. And Srimad Bhagavatam explains that Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya, Rajoguna, Tamoguna, all of them will be vanquished. If every day without fail, if we hear properly, either the holy name of the Lord or the Katha of the Lord. And it is very essential to understand, of course, that we can relish it in association of devotees. Earlier only Lord Kapila has explained that Satam Prasangat Mama Virya Samavido. My wonderful activities have to be heard in association of devotees who are free from material desires. In association of such devotees, we have to hear. And when we hear in association of such devotees, Bhavanti Hrit Karna Rasayana Kathaha, then it will be very, very pleasing, both for hearing also. Just by hearing it will be very pleasurable. And then it will enter into our heart. It is called Rasayana. Rasayana means something tasty. We prepare Rasayana. Ekadashi, Balena Rasayana, we prepare something. Generally, Rasayana is taken from the mouth, tongue, goes to the stomach. But this is a special Rasayana. It enters through the ears and goes to the heart. See this? Enters through the ear. If you nicely, attentively hear, then it will not go from one ear and come out from another ear. If attentively with Shraddha, if you hear, it will go from the ear, it will go to the heart. It will create a revolution in your heart. Our misdirected life will completely become changed by that. So, very pleasing both to the heart and to the mind. Tajjoshanat ashu. And if you continue this cultivation, this is important, not that one day I heard a Krishna Katha. No. Joshanat means cultivate it regularly. Tajjoshanat ashu. Then what will happen? Very soon, apavarga vartmani, you will be on the path of liberation. Finished material life. And Shraddha Ratir Bhaktir Anukramishyati. Everything, whatever is required, Shraddha, Rati, attachment for Krishna, attachment for devotional service, Bhakti, pure devotional life, one by one everything will come. Prabhupada says it will be just like when you eat your food, three things will happen. Tushti, Pushti, Shrut. What is that? Third? Shrut? Could not get. Shruta Apayana. That means you get rid of hunger. Correct? So these three things are going to happen. One is you will be completely satisfied. It will nourish you. Pushti means it will nourish, and your hunger will vanquish. So similarly in devotional life, the more we practice and cultivate, the more we will be completely satisfied. It will nourish our devotional life, and our material hankerings will be finished. So we'll stop with this Granthra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai.